Surgery tomorrow. Hi. Hi, Miller.
Are we here? Am I frozen?
You're a little frozen. So, for anyone that jumps in, Miller is having Wi-Fi issues. He normally drives this boat, but might have to kick it to me a little bit now and again. Just bear with us.
Yeah.
It's all you. So,
And Scott's
if
a
I
little
can be,
fuzzy.
if I'm able to be,
Go
maybe here
pilot
I am
number
looking
one.
down. So, welcome. We are Rachel and Miller, and we are doing our live broadcast for, I don't know, the 170th time. I'm kidding. I guess 9th.
Okay, so let's
probably
interpret that. Welcome to the Rachel and Miller show where we talk about real estate. We go from different topics ranging from mortgage rates to market trends to things outside of real estate. And today we have Dory Mittner, who is a title rep for Chicago Title. And we're going to gear this conversation more towards new agents to kind of get a better understanding of the role of your title rep. Perfect. So, Dory, why don't you give us a little bit of your background first before we go into some of the questions we've got ready for you?
Okay. So I started in title like 28 years ago, and I started behind the scenes. I was doing customer service, and then I became an assistant on an escrow desk. And then when an opportunity came up to become a title rep out in the field, of course, I jumped on it because that's like everyone's dream job. Everybody wanted to be a title rep. And as it came out that my territory would be my hometown. So it was perfect. I already knew people. I was familiar with the area. And so it worked out great. So here, fast forward 28 years later, this is my job. And I absolutely love my job. So I feel like I'm helping people, and you still have some freedom. So raising kids and being able to do different things was an added benefit to that. So quite a blessing. But yeah, 28 years in this business.
Amazing. Back then, when you said 28 years ago, that was a title rep is the dream job. What made that so? The flexibility of it?
Yeah. The flexibility, you weren't sitting in an office all day long. You were out, you were meeting people, you got to meet new people. There was a lot of entertaining going on back then where, you do great big events and you would host them and you would bring the food and, some things came along. Some laws changed. And of course we can't always do that anymore, but it was fun. It was being out there, and it was, if my son was going to be in a Christmas program, then I had the flexibility to go check that out and then be back out in the field. And so it was just a great job. And of course, being around all the agents and watching them thrive. So I just loved it. I loved it. I still do. Still love it.
So for anyone watching, I don't know if we have any viewers right now, but we share the video later. So hopefully we get viewers later. Dory, I know Dory because Dory is friends with my mom via real estate. My mom, who was an agent, I want to say about 18 years, maybe just shy of 20 years, I believe. Met you when she first started, and I know that you were an integral part of her success. And she I don't want to say used you. She called upon you a lot to help her. And when I got my license 2 years ago, you were the first contact my mom gave me. Is here's Dory. She's amazing, and she will help you and can answer basically any question you have about real estate. So speaking of questions, we've got one for you. And again, we're talking to a newer agent. How would you sum up what your service is for real estate agents?
So what title does or what I do for a realtor? Because those are two different things.
Let's talk about what
Both.
you do for a realtor first.
Okay.
Scott, you're not
So-
here.
Yeah, you're in and out, Scott.
We're just doing this without you.
Yeah. So, so if I was to sit down with a new realtor, some of the things I go over, of course, is what title is, what we do behind the scenes. And then I have to basically, because it's all about the relationship, it's the same as is with you and you guys, if you have a seller or a buyer that you're working with. So I build a relationship showing them how I can help them in their business. Some of the tools that Chicago has, like we have apps, we have websites, so we have CRMs they can use. We have a program that does net sheets for a buyer or a seller. We've got different goals that we can sit down and I can make them accountable to me, like how many calls did you make, marketing ideas. If you have to put together a listing presentation or a buyer's presentation, we have things that can go in with that to help you. So it's basically just building that relationship and then helping them be accountable and providing them with tools and websites that help them make their job easier, make them look like a rock star. And we're just behind the scenes helping. So.
Okay. And what does title insurance do? What is the job of title insurance?
So title insurance, so we'll get an order to open. So once you have a buyer and your seller and you guys have signed your contracts and you're ready to open escrow, escrow will contact us to open the order. They give us all the pertinent information like your property address, who the players are, the buyer, the seller, the realtors, and then we open up the order. And what I mean by that is we start a process of searching out that property. So we start by searching the property, which is for liens, judgments, easements, HOA, CC&Rs, who actually is on title. So we review all the deeds that are recorded against the property to make sure that your seller is the person that has the legal right to sell that property. So, and we could talk about that later because sometimes it doesn't end up that way. And then we also search for the buyer and we go behind the scenes and find out if there are any liens or judgments against the seller that need to be paid off, like IRS liens, state tax liens, child support judgments, or spousal support. All of that kind of thing is really, really important. If they have a bankruptcy, there's a ton of stuff that title does behind the scene. And then once we've done all that searching, we put together what's called a preliminary title report. And then we send that over to escrow, and it's going to list all of the items and what we need to make that a clear and free title for the buyer. So we want to make sure that they get this property free and clear of all liens and judgments and, no encumbrances against it that would affect their title. And then we provide that to escrow, and then escrow does their job. And once all the documents are in and escrow has everybody signing their stuff, they let us know, hey, we're ready to close. We make sure we've got everything on our end, and then we provide to the county recorder all the documents needed to actually close the escrow and transfer the property. So kind of a long process, but
it makes
always
sense.
interesting.
Are title companies or is title insurance always required in every transaction?
No. Title insurance, they at one point everybody thought it was required, but it has become an option. Somebody going in as a buyer that has an all cash offer really doesn't have to have title insurance, but that's a scary thought, going in to purchase a home, one of the biggest assets you'll ever buy, and not knowing if you're actually getting a free and clear title. You can go in and you think you're talking to the seller and it might not be the seller, and you might give the money over to somebody that doesn't even have a right to give you the property. But if you do have a lender, lenders do require title insurance. So they want
Okay.
their asset protected as well. So on that end, if you're going in with a loan, you have to have title insurance.
Okay, that makes sense. What are some of the common title issues that can delay or derail a transaction?
So there's a few. I put together a what I call my seller questionnaire that I like to give to agents that are going on a listing presentation. And it basically asks some of the things up front of the seller that they may know about, so we can kind of derail that from happening. But some of the things we see are maybe there's deeds that have been recorded that were just done by a family member. They're called uninsured deeds. So if we come across an uninsured deed, we require affidavits to prove that the seller really did mean to, give this property interest up. So there's uninsured deeds. There's the new thing, the transfer on death deed. That's that's just coming up, and those are starting to show up on our transactions. Those transfer on death deeds have time limits, certain paperwork that has to be filed and recorded. So with those timelines, that can be something that would prolong your close of escrow.
Dory,
Mhm.
how would that come up? The transfer on death. How would that come up in a transaction?
So if somebody doesn't have a trust, and perhaps they're the only one on title, rather than have an issue where, God forbid something happens to them and they're not covered, that property goes into probate. They can have a will. That's not going to keep you out of probate. So if that property is not in a trust, then that's what they're looking at, which can really delay your selling your property. So they've created this document called a transfer on death deed. And what that does is it allows an individual to notarize this document showing who they want to inherit the property should they pass away.
So it has to be done before they die.
It's recorded immediately, and
Before
they've
they die.
determined who they want to have it, but it doesn't become effective until they die. So
Is this what I've heard something about this? I haven't heard it explained that well. So thank you for that. Is this what I've heard referred to as kind of the shortcut probate?
No, well, I mean, I guess
weird
so.
1,000-foot view kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, it does help because they've got it recorded. They're saying who they want to benefit from the property and who gets the interest. But sometimes other people pull up into the transaction that go, oh no, I'm another, son or a daughter, and she told me I was going to get the property, so it's not a cut and dried way of doing it, but it does help if they list all the siblings and, they go through the appropriate time frames. There is a 120-day waiting period before you can sell a property if that's recorded. But it is nice for those that, haven't got a trust, or if they're in the process of getting a trust. I have a few people that are recording them because they're working on their trust and they don't want to be stuck if something happens. So those transfer on death deeds are kind of nice for that. So that's another issue. What else is there? There's the HERO or the PACE loans. Those are new. And something like that where people they've gone out and had some home improvements done on their house, and they have borrowed with this HERO or PACE. Those are added to the property taxes. So sometimes that takes a while to get your demands or your payoff statements from. So that can prolong it. We can have, like I said, I talked about the HOA liens or IRS liens or state tax liens, or if a property is in probate, that can prolong. So there's quite a few things that can come up on title.
It sounds like a short escrow could be problematic if you've got a lot of title issues that need to be cleared up.
Yeah.
I know that, oftentimes agents use a short escrow as part of their negotiation leverage. But for me, it always seems a little like the shorter the escrow, the higher the pressure cooker. There's so
Yeah,
much to get
for
done.
sure.
And it's like,
For sure.
you've got 24 hours to get 48 hours worth of work done.
Yeah. And that raises a good point that when you do take a listing, you can always call and open up the preliminary title report as soon as you get the listing. That
Okay.
way, we're behind the scenes working on it. We can provide it to you even before it goes into escrow so that you can, talk to your sellers about some of these
Sure.
things.
So that you know not to say, hey, we could do a 14-day escrow, and you don't,
Yeah.
and you're doing that blind and not knowing if you're going to need 3 weeks to clear up some title issues.
Right. And especially if there's been a death. So we always want to make sure that you're covered by that 90 or 120-day waiting period if needed. So,
Scott?
yep.
I just kind of had a aha moment, and I'll say it out loud, and I think I can make this work. So when a new agent is talking to his or her client, it may be a best practice to say, you know what, let's get all the pre-work done before we say we can do a quick escrow or a 14-day escrow. Let's get the pre-work done, and then let's discuss how quickly we can get this done. In a perfect world, and I'm not sure that even exists anymore, but in a perfect world, Dory, how long would it take you in a perfect world to get I'm going to say clear to open? How's that sound? Not clear to close, but clear to open with no issue.
So once we open the preliminary title report, or the order, it usually takes a couple days before we have a full report done. Because what we like to do is if there are CC&Rs or open loans on the property, any kind of recorded documents, we like to attach them to the prelim as a hyperlink. That way everybody involved can click on that and actually see the document. Hey, what is this? Where did this come from? Who was this? That's not my signature, whatever it is. So that usually takes a couple days.
And Dory, who usually pays for a title report? The seller or the buyer?
So the title report isn't really paid for. What we hope is that when you do open the title report, there's no charge. But once you go into escrow and you choose Chicago Title as your title company, there is a policy that's paid for. And in that case, the seller generally pays for that. Not always, everything's negotiable as far as costs go, but normally a seller pays for a title policy and that covers our work. So it's not paid for upfront.
Okay, as a title rep, there's an awful lot of work done prior with the hopes that people see the, I mean, it seems like it would naturally flow that way,
right?
But I would guess that it doesn't always.
Correct.
And the same things happen with realtors, where you can put in a lot of work and then your client goes elsewhere.
Yes, or they choose not to sell.
Well, yeah, I mean, we do have contracts now that kind of are supposedly, can keep that from happening so much with the buyer broker contract.
Right.
But it can still happen, and it still does. So any facet of the industry, there's, whether you're a title rep or a homeowner's insurance rep or a realtor, we all put in a lot of work before there's even a promise of a payout.
Yeah.
So we all work really hard. So it's tough when people start negotiating down our commissions when we've already probably put in months worth of work.
Yeah.
And and I think that's an important message, probably not one that a buyer would see via here, but a good message nonetheless.
Yeah.
So what would be your advice, if any, for a newer agent?
New advice for build a good team. So when you get in the business, you want to build your escrow team, build your title team, me, home warranty, inspectors, get a good team around you that you're going to use in your transactions. And, always refer back to them. They're going to have your back. They may even be able to pull favors, I kind of think of it that way, like, oh my gosh, they give me all the business, maybe I can work this for them or that, I always think of that. Only because, sometimes I get asked for favors of somebody that has never ever used me for title. And I'm like, it's kind of iffy, you just, you want that good team. You want that loyalty and be able to
reciprocity amongst everybody.
That, and then also I think being consistent with your marketing. So you have a sphere of influence already, whether it's your hairdresser or your insurance people or your neighbors or your family members, people that you use on a day-to-day business, day-to-day event. You have all of that sphere of influence. Stay in contact with them. Don't let them go. Always let them know when you've got a listing or a sale. Let them see what you're doing in the business. And then you have your farm areas and you want to stay consistent there as well. But I think that's huge. And then I always tell people, always wear your badge, let everybody know that you're around when you go somewhere. Do you have your badges on?
I don't have a badge.
Oh, look at him.
I'm only here for the free car wash.
Car wash. Yeah, I always say that because people will have questions. And, if they're seeing you with a badge, it's like, hey, you're in real estate, what do you think about this? Or, I don't know. I'm always about that.
True.
So.
Or if you've got things like a cap or a sweatshirt or something that's branded with your brokerage or your personal branding, which I know we're working on at Gratis Homes. I know that Scott's got all sorts of stuff with Epic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Look at him. He's
looking for it. There you go.
What is it?
That's his phone.
You're muted.
It's a power pack.
Yeah.
Oh. Well, when you put it up close to the camera, it disappears. Now, see, but look at who's on the front. Oh.
It went away.
I
can't see what that is.
Can't tell.
That's Rocky tying up his laces, getting ready to go in the ring.
I was going to say, I almost said Rocky Balboa, but that was just going to be a lucky guess.
He's Rocky Balboa. He is my dude right there. Yes. And when my daughter calls me, her ringtone is Eye of the Tiger.
Oh, nice.
Never forget.
Funny.
He's my dude.
Sweet little Bella.
Sweet little Bella, I know. Well, we'll save that for offline because we're going to get all mushy and that's just going to be ridiculous.
So, Dory, to go backwards for a quick second, how long does title insurance last for? I had a wacky one a couple months ago. How long is it good forever?
Yes. Well, there's a couple different things. So you pay the one premium, the seller pays, it covers the buyer for as long as they own the house. So some of the caveats to that is if the buyer decides, I don't want to be on title anymore, or now the new homeowner, I should say, I don't want to be on title anymore. I'm going to put my cousin on title. That could invalidate your title insurance. So you're actually changing ownership.
Without mentioning names or anything like that, I will tell you it was not Chicago Title. I had an instance, house was sold 4 times. Chicago Title actually caught the issue.
Chicago Title did?
They caught the issue and said, we can't close because 4 sales ago, it wasn't transferred properly.
Mm-hmm.
However, 4 sales ago, they did have title insurance. So my Chicago Title and I went to battle in a good way against the other people. And we won. But
good. It does happen where, and we talked about this, I don't know if you were on or off, I was talking about these, sometimes there's an uninsured deed that was brought in
Right.
And it wasn't done with title insurance. And so, we won't cover those. But we will go back to the one, previous if it was us and fight for that. But the other thing is if someone transfers from themselves as an individual into, say, their LLC. So that's a little bit different. In that case, you would go to the title company. You'd go, hey, Chicago, I bought it here, but I really want it in my LLC. There's what we call an endorsement to our policy, which will cover that LLC without a whole brand new policy. It's about $100, maybe 120, something like that extra, and that covers it. You can transfer from you as an individual into your trust, and that's covered. No endorsement needed. So, but it should last as long as you're on title.
Thank you. I wasn't 100% sure. So when my favorite sales are actually for sale by owners.
Okay.
I love for sale by owners. Would you recommend when somebody does a for sale by owner that they reach out to a local escrow company like Chicago Title and say,
Yes.
hi, I don't have an agent and I want to sell my house. What are you guys able to do in the industry? It's called a FSBO, as you know.
FSBO.
But for those who aren't in the industry, it's for sale by owner. Or FSBO, sorry, for sale by owner. Would you recommend them calling Chicago Title and saying, "Hi, help"?
Absolutely. So it's funny, all these years doing this, you can go on and Google, local title company or local, and a lot of times I'll pop up because I've been so many ads and, so much advertising and social media and stuff. So we'll pop up and I get these calls. I would say I get at least maybe 3 or 4 a month of people saying that.
So, and I don't want you to pigeonhole yourself on this, but on average, what would a cost to a FSBO person be to have a title company do, if you will, all their paperwork for them for title, just as an average or an estimate in a perfect world, not assuming not all kinds of crazy things?
So there's no extra fee for that. We do not provide the contracts. So there's going to be no car contracts involved. Okay. They're going to have to come up to us with whatever paperwork they have. Sometimes I do have a questionnaire that I can do. Well, I call it my FSBO questionnaire, where I provide it to who's buying and who's selling. And I'll say, okay, here's all the things I need to know before we can get started. So I know that they're on the same page. Here's how much you want to buy for or sell for, who's paying for a home warranty, or is there going to be a home warranty? Is it as is? Who's going to be covering the title insurance? Who's going to cover which fees? Is it going to be customary? So we go through all that in this questionnaire, and basically all the fees are the same, whether there was a realtor involved or not. There's just no commissions, and we do not provide the contracts. So they can come to us. Escrow can put together what's called a joint escrow and purchase contract. So it's got everything built in, and if everything looks right as to what they agreed upon, then they sign it and they move forward. No contract needed.
What's your longest escrow you've ever had?
Oh my gosh. Well, we did close one that opened in 2023. And that was a probate issue. So some of them last a long time, but there's usually something else going on behind the scenes.
Wow. That's,
That'd
be a long way to try to track. We actually, hi, whoever's watching us right now. I can see people watching.
Is somebody watching? We're gonna wrap it up soon because we're almost at 30 minutes. But Dory, if an agent is not in the area but still in California, can they still reach out to you and use you for your services?
Yes. So Chicago is nationwide, 176 years, I think we are. But for me, I am California. I'm licensed in the state of California through the Department of Insurance. So absolutely.
And I would love for you to come by our new office of Gratis Homes.
I would too.
We're in Westlake. You're
Yeah.
going to have to take a little drive over the 23.
Yeah, that whole 10 minutes or whatever,
Yeah.
right?
Dory, what's your contact information?
You can reach me on my cell phone, 805-551-4300, real simple, or dory.mittner@ctt.com.
Dory.mittner@ctt.com, or
Yep.
just keep on swimming, keep on. Oh, don't
Keep on
email that.
swimming. You can always put that in there. Good old Dory.
Yeah,
Great.
I love that.
Yeah.
Dory,
Anything else, Mr. Miller?
other than I would like my Wi-Fi to be fixed.
Well, you know what? It kind of evened out. Things went okay.
Well, I turned everything off on my computer except this.
Okay, there you go.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're good
Yeah,
now.
you're
Well,
right.
Dory, thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome.
And I'll reach
Absolutely.
out to you offline. I'd love for you to come see our office. We're
Okay,
usually there on
wonderful.
Tuesdays for our little meetings. I'd love for you to meet my partners. And I miss you, so I hope to see you soon.
Okay, you let me know and I'll be there.
Okay.
I'm gonna have to drive down there when you come down there.
Yeah, there you go. Join us.
I will.
All
Very
right.
good. Rachel, we'll talk
All
soon.
right.
Dory, it's been a
Sounds good.
pleasure. Guys,
you.
we are here most every Wednesday around 3:00. And I say most because sometimes we're not, but we are working on putting together our Rachel and Miller YouTube channel that's just Rachel and Miller, so that we can do our stuff on there, whether I'm available or she's available or we're both available. So we're going to be putting that together soon. So keep an eyeball out for that. Rachel, where can you be reached at?
You can reach me at my email 22, the number 22, rachelmarino@gmail.com. You can also check out gratishomes.com.
Which is scrolling down there at the bottom.
Mhm.
And I am with Epic Realty up here in Ridgecrest. I can be reached at www.sellingkern.com, or you can call me or text me, smoke signals. Texting or calling usually works best at 760-264-3501. With that, ladies, I will bid you adieu, and we will talk very soon. Dory,
Bye,
thank
Dory.
you again. Take care, everybody. Make it a
Bye.
great day.
Bye,
Bye.
Dory. Thanks.